Welcome to Waypoint Real Talk, where we discuss real estate and your home. Let's get started with your hosts, Aaron Shishilla and Austin Heinz.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Waypoint Real Talk. My name is Austin Heinz. Aaron Shishilla today is behind the scenes, making sure we do a good job on this podcast. And our guest today is Michael Markus with RE/MAX Realty Unlimited. Welcome.
Thank you.
What does the K stand for?
Keith.
Keith. Michael Markus.
Yes, sir.
I like it. Were you ever a musician?
No.
Should have been.
No.
That's a good musician's name.
No, I played the piano for a little bit as a kid until I got past my sister, and then I quit.
Well, there you go. That's a good plan. So just a quick intro about you. So you've been matching people to homes in the Tampa Bay area since 2004.
Absolutely.
And you're a Chicago transplant, and you wanted to get away from the snow.
Oh, sure. Yeah, when I moved down here, December of 2000 was the snowiest winter in Chicago. I was happy to be here.
So you appreciate this heat index close to 110.
I've not acclimated to this, so the heat has not bothered me, and when it gets down into the 50s, I'm still in shorts and a flip-flop.
Well, that's awesome. You're one of those guys.
Yes, I am.
Nice. So you specialize in listings, first-time home buyers, new construction, move-up situations, downsizing situations, and everything in between. So it sounds like you're just a well-rounded realtor.
Yes, I've done it all. I've done commercial. I've done 55 plus several occasions. Land, build, new purchase, custom build, so on. So I'm pretty well-rounded.
That's awesome. So our topic for today, I know we are towards the end of Pride Month, but considering we're still in Pride Month, I wanted to kind of take a look at how it relates to the real estate industry and talk a little bit about when you first got into real estate, what it was like at that point in time and where we've come from there to where we are today. So I know we talked a little bit about, organizations that are out there for realtors. So when you first joined, did those organizations exist, or did they exist in the capacity they're at today?
No, they didn't exist. It was very hard to find resources to work with the LGBTQ plus community. It wasn't as well known at that point in time. When I first got into the business and when I got my license and was starting to interview brokers, one of my initial questions was, are you comfortable in having me, an out gay realtor, in your office? And if the answer is no, that's fine. I wouldn't take it personally or anything like that. I would just move on. Fortunately, I found somebody who was very comfortable with that and allowed me to be myself within the office as well.
Was that the first one you went to, or did you get some no's along the way to finding that one?
It was one of the first ones I went to.
Okay.
I think that they were kind of shocked that I would ask the question, but that was very important to me. Is that I would be able to be comfortable in the office that I was working out of.
Sure. That makes sense. And having a broker that would support you as you're trying to grow your business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So then as far as organizations, I know you mentioned Nagel Rep.
Yes.
Was a big one nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
Did that exist when you first got into real estate?
No, that came in 2007 is when that was formed. And basically it was a referral network at that point in time and small. And it has grown into something very extreme, where there's conferences, there's housing summits that they attend in Washington to help develop equal housing. So it's been an evolution of that. And now there's several organizations out there finding their own little niche in the marketplace.
And you mentioned it's like a family being a part of an organization like that, right?
Yes, you could, friends, people like you that you're able to communicate with the same views that you have. You can bounce ideas off of them. Referral resources. We have clients that will only work with someone who is like them because they feel more comfortable. And so we have resources to find somebody, whether they're coming from out of state, whether they're going somewhere. We have resources to help.
That's awesome. Now, you did mention also that quite a bit of your business does come from referrals within the organization, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Currently, I did the numbers after we spoke the last time to see if I was spot on. Actually, it's a little higher.
Really?
I'm almost a third now of my business comes from the LGBTQ plus community.
That's awesome.
And happy to work
Sure.
with the community, and am able to find their dream homes or build their home, or if it's a rental to begin with, find them the rental.
Sure. That's awesome. And speaking of that, I know one thing that you had mentioned to me is, and you just mentioned it as well, is that home buyers that are part of the community are trying to find realtors that match who they are, right? To help them
Yes,
find
absolutely.
the right home for them.
Yes.
How has that evolved from when you first got into real estate? Was it something where, people weren't necessarily open to having that conversation? They were more afraid, I guess, of having that conversation when trying to buy a house. So maybe they held back a little bit at first?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And, the resources, again, weren't there. So if somebody went and searched for gay realtor, lesbian realtor, trans realtor, they wouldn't find anybody. I have always advertised as such. I had put myself out there in the universe that, gay realtor. I have a business page somewhere in the universe of gay realtor at Remax Realty Unlimited. So if somebody is looking for, they'll be able to find me.
Sure. And I know you just showed us your business card as well, that you have the rainbow flag incorporated with the logo there too.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started, and again, within the office, I've always designed my own card, not the cookie cutter cards. The brokers would prefer I use industry standard, but I stand out and not afraid to. But I've always incorporated the rainbow in my business card from the beginning, whether it was a color bar on the bottom, and currently I've got a stock photo rainbow colored balloon in the background.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So I know one thing that you also mentioned. So you talked about not being afraid to stand out. And you mentioned that you're sure that you may have lost some clients or potential clients because of that, because you weren't afraid to be who you are, and maybe they just didn't want to work with a realtor like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't publicize. I do advertise. So if somebody is not willing to work with a gay realtor, then they don't have to. They can just move past me.
Sure.
If they're comfortable and they want to work with me. And I've had clients from gay, straight, lesbian, singles, couples, very conservative clients, and very liberal clients. And I've been able to keep the politics and ideologies out of the mix and just do my business, because I do treat everybody fairly, honestly, and as if they were family.
Sure. And I know one thing that I had mentioned as well is, let's say you did lose a couple potential clients because you weren't afraid to be who you are. But on the flip side, I'm sure you gained so many more who appreciated that and appreciated the fact that you were yourself.
I would like to think so.
Yeah.
It's hard to gauge. I did have a straight female who found me on the NagelRep site, who wanted to move down this area, and she thought she wanted to live in Plant City on some land. Well, she's in Northport, so it took me a little bit further south. But she felt more comfortable being with a gay male realtor than with a straight male realtor, because she was a single female.
Right.
So we've become very good friends along the way too. So that's been kind of neat.
That's awesome. So going back to, people in the community trying to find a realtor who they feel safe with and helping them find a community that's going to be safe for them. I know one thing you mentioned to me is that in our area, a majority of it is safe, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I've found all the way up into Brooksville. I've placed some couples, Dover, Mulberry, and a single guy, 5 acres in Hardy County in Zolfo Springs. And he's having the time of his life down there.
That's awesome. Have you gone to a housewarming party yet?
No, he's actually not had the housewarming party, but he's the virus has hit as well. This was a year ago. I put him down there a year ago, August.
Okay.
And he's enjoying the life down there.
I mean, 5 acres is plenty to social distance on, so you can still have a housewarming party.
Well, true.
Everybody get their own acre.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So going back to the topic of how the real estate industry has evolved as far as being inclusive of LGBTQ plus people, as far as how it is today, what do you see are still areas of improvement moving forward? Because I'm sure everything still isn't perfect even today.
Well, right. Basically, housing equality doesn't exist in all places. There's in 22 states, they do have legal safety issues that have been presented, and to provide the outlet that the LGBTQ plus can feel safe and they're protected class, where 28 states do not, including Florida, does not have those. However, on the county and the local city side, they do.
Okay.
Where Hillsborough County and Tampa, St. Pete, they're pretty progressive on that. And the NAR, National Association of Realtors, also is inclusive. And in our code of ethics, it states in there that all are protected in there.
Okay.
So being a realtor, we must adhere to that.
Sure. And I think some of the progress that still needs to happen is more just on an individual basis within society. Because you mentioned the story of, I think it was a lesbian couple that you were trying to help find a home, and there was someone in the neighborhood that was outspoken against that kind of, right?
It was a realtor that owned the property at the end of the block, and I happened to live in the block, and it was a neighbor across the street that was very vocal about, is it two women buying the property, and was probing as to and was very vocal about that, and the lesbian couple decided that this was not a friendly little street to be on, even though I lived on it.
Right.
And I tried to tell them that it's okay. It's okay on the block, but they just went somewhere else because they just didn't feel as safe and as comfortable as being there.
Sure.
And those are the types of subtle things that we have.
So I think it just comes down to, for anybody who's watching that, maybe not be in the community, but are, open to helping people in the community find homes, is within themselves just reflecting on that. What are some subtle things that they may be doing that they don't even realize that could be taken in the wrong way? It's being conscious of how you represent yourself, right?
Well, I like to try to look at things through different lenses. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and during the late 60s and early 70s, there was white flight and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of change going on. And I actually got to meet the new neighbors that had come in, whereas others had absolutely nothing to do with them. So I started looking at things at the age of like 13, 14, through those different lenses, and became very accepting of people, no matter who they were. And I also was challenging my sexuality at that point as well. And you didn't just come out at that point either. It was still taboo. And so all of those challenges, I want to look at it so that everybody feels comfortable. Not everybody can do that. They're more, me oriented, how is this affecting me, when it really isn't. Equality for everybody doesn't reduce anybody else's rights. Mm-hmm. It just gives the rights to the others who don't have them.
Right.
It's not pie.
Yeah. That's a very good point. So I want to turn to the statistics that you brought with you. and a few of them that you think are really important to hit. I know one that you had mentioned is there's a sheet here, and this was provided by NaggleRep, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
This is each year now. I think since 2017.
Okay.
They've polled the members, and this is the results
Gotcha.
of that.
So there's one here that says LGBT home ownership rates are far below the national average. So 65% for the national average, and we have 49% for LGBT. What do you think is the main driver of that difference?
It's always been a fear factor of, will I be welcomed in the neighborhood? Do I feel safe? Will my kids feel safe? I've had 2 lesbian couples that have biracial children. And when they have found me and we've had that discussion open and honest, they say, will my biracial children be safe in the neighborhood? So there's the lesbian couples that have biracial children, so it's multi-level of fear that are coming in there that they want to feel safe.
Sure.
And, so that has come into play. The level of ownership has increased through the years as we've evolved and more protections have been put in place. And so more and more married couples are coming in and buying houses, but we're still far behind people in general.
Sure. That makes sense. What other statistics do you have there that you'd like to mention?
Basically, it shows through the years that it has gotten better. Like more married LGBTQ plus couples are buying homes. 57% of the surveyors said yes now, whereas in 2017 it was 48%. It's a 10% increase in interest in home ownership now than 3 years ago.
Sure.
So those are some of the things that we are feeling more comfortable as more people are becoming more comfortable with us.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's a really good point, and it goes back to, we are progressing. There's still some work that needs to be done. So I guess one thing that I want to mention is it's interesting because I went to the St. Pete Pride Festival 4 years ago, and I debuted one of my funky suits at that time. It was the leopard print suit.
I know it well.
Yeah. Lots of pictures on Facebook of that.
Yes.
But one thing that was really interesting to me is being the first time that I had been to a festival like that was the number of non-LGBTQ plus people who were there just supporting the community. And I think it makes a really good point that when it comes to supporting or making people feel included, like it's not saying you have to have a rainbow flag flying outside of your house or you have to, do this or that. It's just be open-minded and be willing to look at everybody as just another person, right? And just support each other like we should be anyway.
Yes, as we should be anyway.
Right.
I call myself a humanist, where I believe all humans are created equal regardless. But the facts are that we aren't. And so that's why there are things like Pride festivals to keep the struggle going. Mm-hmm. And, 51 years ago, Stonewall started the process.
Sure.
And, we've come a long way in that 51 years, but there's a long way to go.
Sure. So in closing, unless there's anything else you want to mention, what I kind of wanted to close on is what do you have as far as advice for realtors that are in the community that are getting into real estate or kind of looking for their place to be? What is your advice for those realtors? Is it to join an organization like NaggleRep or maybe find a more local organization? Just what would you say to them?
Well, use all available resources that you have. NaggleRep has been a very good resource for me. The 2 new organizations that are coming out are becoming good resources as well. And it's not just for the LGBTQ plus community, but for allies who support, it's there. There are some local organizations as well. And talking with others who have been in the organizations and have dealt with problems out there is a good resource as well. Obtaining the At Home with Diversity designation, which is out there, is a good place to go as well.
That's what I saw on the website. I was looking at your designations and your certifications, and I was like, I have no idea what that stands for.
Well, it includes ethnic groups. It's like when an Asian buyer is coming in, they have different specifications. When you start throwing feng shui in there, we learn a little bit about that, inclusive of the LGBTQ plus community, but just, again, helping you look at things from another lens, that it's not just black and white, that there's a lot of gray in there, and there's so many differences. But yet we're all similar. But there's little intricacies that are in there, if can help you.
Sure.
And keep an open mind.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things, is keep an open mind. And like you said, everybody should be treated the best that you can.
No, absolutely.
So awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being on our podcast with us this morning, and thank you for sharing your insight with everyone. And thanks everybody for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Well, thank you for having me. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Michael.
it.
Of course.